Rev up your engines!
Pedro Prada says, would you consider buying the new 2-liter turbo for a Toyota Highlander? I think Toyota quality is going down. Well, so do I, and I'd never buy that vehicle. The whole thing about the Highlander was they were great cars with V6 engines, right? I had customers that had the Highlanders with 4-cylinder engines. They were underpowered. They didn't have any oomph. But I had customers with the V6 Highlanders with 500,000 miles on them, and they were still running fine. Putting a 4-cylinder turbo, it's only going to wear the engine out faster, and it still doesn't have the torque of a V6 engine. Another mistake Toyota's making just because they're afraid of the American EPA. Your gas mileage ratings are bad. The ratings are BS. There's real gas mileage, and then there's the EPA ratings that hardly anybody actually checks. There's only a small percentage that are actually tested. The rest are based on information the manufacturers give the government, right? So they can put on a dyno, set it up so it gets the absolute best mileage. Hey, unless you're driving your car on a dyno when your trips, and dynamometers just sit there, you don't actually get anywhere. When you get in the real world, the gas mileage goes sometimes as much as 30% lower than their estimations, especially with the 4-cylinder turbo. Fake gas mileage ratings when it comes to the EPA ratings. You get in the real world with a turbo, you're going to step on the gas more often. The turbos are going to spool up for the horsepower, and your gas mileage goes. Mad Hunter says, when you say German cars are unreliable, do you only mean the American-made ones? Reply. Okay. Well, more so, yeah. The ones they make in Alabama and stuff are garbage. Guy brought me one here in Rhode Island last year, and he was so peed he paid on 140-something grand for this car, and he took it in to get things fixed. It wasn't painted right. The mirror was falling off. Lights were coming on, and he brought it to me, and they didn't fix hardly anything under warranty. I mean, it was just terrible. They do a better job making the ones that they make in Germany. But realize one thing. They're into high technology, super expensive repairs. Even the ones made in Germany, you know, they always talk in World War II. Oh, the Germans, they made those Panzers, the best tanks of all time. Ask the guys, well, most of them are dead now, but when they were alive, you asked the guys who drove the Panzers, and they would tell you to a man. They were made like crap. They could barely go 100 kilometers before they'd break and they couldn't run. When they did the Battle of the Bulge, I think the Germans were trying to bring 250 of these Tiger tanks from the Russian front on the east to meet the Americans in the Battle of the Bulge. They sent like 250 of them. I think 7 of them made it to the Battle of the Bulge. They were extremely unreliable. They got this image they were the best ever made just because they were big and they could knock things down. As actual fighting vehicles, they weren't that great. Unless they didn't have to move. And the whole point of tanks is you move them around, right? Troy Hummel says, what's your thoughts on Volvo? I could write a book on that, right? My aunt had an old P1800 that had 750,000 miles on that thing. They were an interesting car because they were designed by Italians. It's a Swedish car, but they were built in Birmingham, England. Then they made hippy-dippy cars for a while. Then they became yuppie cars. And their quality started to go down somewhat because they started to mass produce them. Originally, they didn't make that much of a large mass production. And of course now, they're owned by the Chinese own them, and it's basically a Chinese company. And they say they're only going to electric and hybrid cars. Who knows what'll come of that? They're kind of overpriced now for what you get. And since the Chinese company took over, they don't really care about the past, the diesels and gas cars. So I wouldn't advise buying a Volvo diesel or gas car today. They might just stop making them and couldn't get parts for them. Michael Frazier Jr. says, how often should I change transmission fluid in a Silverado 6-speed? I do it every 40, 50,000 miles. Change the filter too. Always use the same fluid that it came with. I don't care. The companies say, our fluid's good. It's the same as the others. No, they aren't. They're all different. And of course, GM doesn't make the fluid. They buy it from somebody else. But they tell them what they want in it. And when you change the fluid, half of it at least is still stuck in the torque converter and the rest of the tranny. So you're just diluting it, taking half out and putting fresh fluid. So you want to use the same fluid. And I'd say like every 40, 50,000 miles because you're not changing it all. You're diluting it, and that's good enough. Let's say you got a car and it's got 150 and you never changed it. Leave it alone. Don't change it then because then it might start to slip. Orange Gamer says, how do I know if my transmission mount is bad? Well, it's real easy. They hold them in place. So what you do is you get yourself a jack. I've got a video on how to check motor mounts and transmission mounts on your car. You can watch it on YouTube. But the basic thing is you get a jack and a little piece of 2x4. You put the 2x4 under the transmission with the jack and you start jacking it or have someone else jack it. Then watch the transmission. Now, if nothing's broken, as you jack the transmission, the whole car will go up in the air. But if the mount's bad, the transmission will start to move, but the car won't follow. Then get a flashlight and you'll see transmission mounts, which are rubber metal, they'll start to separate. The rubber's ripped, and you'll see that the gap is there, and then you know you need a transmission mount. Pretty easy thing to do, actually. Now, changing them can be a real pain. Some cars will take you 7-8 hours because of the way they're designed, but finding out if they're bad is pretty easy. 63 says, what's the viability of a Toyota Tacoma pulling a boat and trailer about 4,500 pounds? Where are you going, and what kind of Tacoma are you talking about? Start out with, my son pulls more than that, but he's got a 1-year-old Toyota Tacoma TRD 4-wheel drive with a V6 engine. Can tow all kinds of stuff, no problems at all. On the other hand, his wife has a 2017 Tacoma with a little bitty 4-cylinder engine, and it's not worth squat for towing. Now, you could tow 4,500 pounds on flat ground. You're not going to be taking off very fast, and it could do it. It wouldn't be a comfortable experience. But with the V6 engine, you're not going to have any problems at all. Rick H. says, Scotty, I got a 2002 Sienna. The AC toggle level that controls temperature is hard to move. What can cause it? It seems to be out of refrigerant, but is it related? It might not be out of refrigerant. Here's the thing. The Toyotas make these weird switches. So what you want to do is get your fingers and pry off the control lever, that switch. Pry it off. And you know what you're going to see behind it? You're going to see the prong sticking out, and there is a nut that tightens it in. That nut gets loose, and then you can't turn it. And you won't have any AC. Get in there. And if you tighten it up and it works, hey, you got the cheapest fix on earth. It costs you nothing. Now, if you take it off and it's still hard to turn after you tighten it, that means that switch is broken. You're going to have to replace the switch. But normally, they're just made that nut gets loose, and then it's hard to turn. So you want to center it so that it's got the full range of turn. And then once you center the knob, tighten up the nut, and you'll fix it. I've fixed hundreds of them that way. David Hubbard said, Scotty, I'm looking at a used 2020 Camry SE for 19 grand. 77,000 miles. It was owned by a mechanic, but it has a transmission leak from the banjo bolt on the cooler hose. Should I buy it and fix it? All right. Well, if it was owned by a mechanic, why is he selling it? And if it's got a leak on the transmission, if it leaked the fluid out, the transmission's damaged. I wouldn't touch that thing with a 10-foot pole. If a mechanic owns a car and it's leaking, I wouldn't touch it. You said it was owned by a mechanic prior. Who knows? He might have just bought it from somebody, right? And it could be an absolute junker. You don't want to take a chance on a car that for 20,000 bucks, just about 19. I'd walk away. You see any problems on a car that they want that much money for, they didn't fix it, and it's dumb on their behalf because they should have fixed it. Then you would never know that it was leaking. Now you know that it's leaking, and if it leaked out and it ran low on fluid, that damages the transmission. Eddie O says, what's a good old inexpensive starter car to learn to wrench on? I want my boy to bond with me on wrenching on cars. All right, it depends what's around in your area. Here's the best thing. Is go to estate sales, see what's out there. You might get an old Buick from somebody, who passed away, and it might only have 80,000 or 60 or 12,000 miles on it. But if you want something that's going to last the longest, get an old Toyota Corolla or an old Honda Civic, right? Even when they're really, really old, they can't go for that much money. You look at a 30-year-old Toyota or Honda, they're not going to go for that much money. They're 30 years old, right? And there's parts available for them up the wazoo. So if you looked at Civics and Corollas, there's millions of them out there. They sold like 45 million Corollas, so there's plenty of them out there, right? And there's so many of them that if you got one, you can get engines, transmissions, all kinds of parts in the junkyard from ones that were wrecked. Because if a car's 30 years old and it's in a small wreck, they total it. They don't fix them. And they still have all kinds of good parts on them. First Class says, I got a Honda CR-V. 2011, 350,000 kilometers. Passenger rear tire has a lot of negative camber compared to the right. How do I fix it? Control arm isn't adjustable. Thanks. Yeah, they're not adjustable. Something is bent. And since it's the passenger side, that makes sense. There's a lot of idiots out there, and that's the rear passenger. That's where they hit curbs. And when they hit the curb, it bends them in. And that means that your lower control arm is probably bent. You can buy aftermarket control arms cheaply enough. They just bolt off and bolt on. Then you could get the thing realigned by a good mechanic if need be. But that's probably what happened, because that's generally the curbs are hit at the right rear because you can't see the right rear, and people are always smashing into curbs or hitting potholes, and that bends them in. Atra says, Scotty, how do I become a better driver? Put your phone down. Don't pay any attention to it, right? Always think there's a million idiots out there, and you don't know what they're going to do. The other day, I almost got smeared in Clarksville, Tennessee, and that made me put my head back on. And I realized when that light turns green, I'm not taking off anymore. I'm going to sit and I'm going to look. And I did the next day after a guy almost hit me, and 3 seconds after it turned red on his way, the guy goes flying through. If I had been just daydreaming, oh, it's green and gone, I would have been killed. Really want to watch out for the idiots there. You know, drive the speed limit. I always drive like 5 over, and those cops don't care. 30, you're going 35, 65, you're going 70. They don't really care, you know. But pay attention to what you're doing. Maybe have a few Red Bulls before you take off. Get you a little bit sharper, you know. Mainly it's paying attention and watch out for the idiots that are out there because they're everywhere. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.